Have you ever found yourself in a room full of laughter and still felt empty inside? People praise you. They laugh at the right moments. They nod in agreement. But deep down, something feels off. Their smiles arrive just a second too late. Their congratulations sound rehearsed, and their silence, it's not peaceful, it's calculated. You ask yourself, am I just being paranoid? No, you're not imagining it. You're simply starting to see clearly, because fake people don't attack you head on. They sit beside you, pat you on the back, and throw off your direction without ever needing to say a cruel word. This video is for anyone who's beginning to question the honesty of the people around them. I'll show you 7 clear signs, often overlooked by many, and how those who live by Stoic principles learn to spot these signs early. If you've ever felt uneasy in friendships that seem genuine, stay with me. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. I've seen through the fake. Now let's begin. Sign number 1, they always agree with you but never challenge you. Sometimes betrayal doesn't come with knives or lies. It arrives quietly. Dressed as support, it claps when you speak. It smiles when you succeed. But beneath that smooth approval, it offers no challenge, no resistance, no truth. Picture this. You're in a room, presenting a bold new idea, a strategy you've spent weeks shaping. You pause, expecting some friction, tough questions, alternative views. But instead, there's silence, followed by polite nods, maybe even applause. No critiques, no hesitation. For a moment, it feels good, maybe too good. Then something inside you tenses. A question rises. Did they really agree, or did they just avoid the risk of disagreeing? This is the kind of silence that comforts the ego, but slowly dulls the mind. Many interpret this ease as a sign of leadership, but a Stoic sees danger in too much agreement. Seneca once warned, avoid flatterers, for they are the worst kind of enemy. Because flattery does not demand growth, it demands that you stay comfortable. And comfort, when left unexamined, leads to collapse. So what's the real cost of surrounding yourself with people who never challenge you? You move forward with untested assumptions. You miss the quiet warnings. You mistake politeness for alignment. And when reality strikes, when your plan breaks down, it's already too late. The same people who smiled will say, I had doubts, but I didn't want to upset you. That's not loyalty, that's cowardice. So what should you do? You create the resistance yourself. You invite it. You say, tell me what's wrong with this. Or, what's the one flaw here that could ruin everything? That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's the mindset of a Stoic leader. One who values truth over ego, clarity over applause. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. But here's the question. How do you know what's right or true if no one around you is honest enough to speak? I remember sitting in a pitch meeting in Seattle. A young founder stood confidently, his pitch precise, his energy sharp. When he finished, the room exploded in applause. I was about to join in, until the seasoned investor next to me leaned over and said, this is bad. No one asked anything. Later, I approached the founder and asked a simple question. If your customer base triples overnight, does your infrastructure survive the pressure? He paused, not because he didn't care, but because the question had never been asked. That moment jolted him. The next morning, his team canceled their weekend plans. They rebuilt the entire framework. What came out 2 weeks later was stronger, more honest, more defensible. One honest question, asked at the right time, changed the trajectory of that business. And that's the lesson. If someone always agrees with you, never challenges, never hesitates, never says, I'm not sure, they're not a mirror, they're a mask. They reflect what you want, not what you need. And masks can't protect you from failure. A true friend will risk your comfort to protect your clarity. A real teammate doesn't fear conflict. They fear your collapse. And a wise man doesn't celebrate agreement, he inspects it. So next time you hear too much yes, pause. Don't enjoy it too quickly. Question it. Dig, probe, ask again. Because silence isn't always peace. Sometimes silence is betrayal in a polished suit. Sign number 2. They praise you in public, but diminish you in private. There is another kind of silence, not the stillness in a meeting room, but the quiet that forms behind your back, where false words begin to circulate. Imagine this. You walk into the office, a colleague smiles and says, "Congratulations, I heard you've been selected as the new team lead." Their voice is gentle, their smile polite enough. You nod and thank them. It feels cordial, harmless. But a few days later, a friend pulls you aside and whispers, "Hey, someone's been saying you didn't earn the role, that it's just because you know how to flatter the boss." Your heart skips a beat. You never heard it with your own ears. There's no proof. But something's changed. People who used to chat with you stop making eye contact. Conversations shrink. The energy shifts. You ask yourself, what's going on? Most people in your position stay silent. You don't know exactly who said it. You don't want to stir conflict, so you endure. But here's what makes this so corrosive. When you're being spoken about behind your back, you cannot defend yourself. You're fighting a shadow, and while you try to maintain peace, the reputation you spent years building begins to slowly erode, one whisper at a time. So the question becomes, how do you face two-faced people without becoming their victim? Stoic philosophy gives us a sharp, unwavering answer. Do not fight in the dark. Live so brightly that the light reflects the truth. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish." At first, this sounds pessimistic, but it holds deep wisdom. You cannot control what others say behind closed doors, but you can control how you live in plain sight. Instead of wasting energy defending yourself against every rumor, reinforce your character. Become the kind of person who, when lied about, still commands trust. Live with such visible integrity that lies collapse under their own weight. This is not surrender, it's victory through consistency. I once met a female manager in San Diego, calm, sharp, and deeply grounded. She was promoted during a time of heavy speculation. Some whispered she was favored, others accused her of playing politics, but she never responded. She showed up on time, checked in with her team, took responsibility when things went wrong. A year passed. Slowly, the skeptics turned into admirers. At the annual review, one employee, who had once mocked her behind her back, stood up and said, "I was wrong and I've learned something." Her silence, her steadiness, that was the strongest response of all. Her actions taught me something powerful. Not all rumors need a response. Some battles, the moment you step into them, you've already lost. Real strength comes not from defending yourself loudly, but from standing firm, consistent, and calm. When you stop scrambling to explain, you give time the space to speak for you, and time always reveals the truth. Those who are real will recognize your worth. Those who are false will reveal their own masks. So when you sense the air shifting behind you, don't panic. Don't run to explain. Examine your behavior. Make sure that no matter what they say, your character remains untouchable. Because truth doesn't need to scream. It only needs to be lived, clearly, quietly, every single day. And that is what two-faced people can never endure. Sign number 3, they only show up when they need something. One of the clearest ways to spot someone insincere is to watch what they do when you have nothing left to give. Imagine this. You're going through a difficult season. Money is tight. Your job feels unstable. Even your self-esteem is being tested. You don't post about it. You don't ask for help. But deep down, you hope someone notices. A simple message would do. "Hey, how have you been lately?" But nothing comes. The same people who used to call you weakly, who once needed your introductions, who laughed beside you at your brightest moments, are suddenly gone. No explanation, no warning, just gone. And then out of nowhere, the silence breaks. It's months later. You're recovering. You're finding your rhythm again. Your name was just mentioned in an important meeting, and right on cue, your phone buzzes. Hey, it's been forever. How are things? Our first instinct is usually soft. We say, they must have been busy. Or, well, I'm still glad they thought of me. But if you look closer, you'll notice a pattern. They show up when you have something they want. A referral, a connection, a spotlight. They're not coming for you. They're coming for the value you generate. And when that value disappears, even temporarily, you vanish from their radar, not as a person, but as a resource. So how do you face this kind of one-sided relationship without becoming bitter? Stoicism teaches a clear truth. Not everyone who stands beside you is walking with you. Some are just standing there for shade. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who wronged you." In other words, you don't need to respond with coldness or calculation, but you do need to be awake. You need boundaries. Learn to tell the difference between a friend and a user. When someone disappears in your darkness and only returns in your light, smile, but don't open the door too quickly. Ask yourself, when was the last time they checked in on me? If the answer is, when I was at the top, you already have your answer. I knew a man who worked in real estate. During the market boom, his phone never stopped ringing. People sought his advice, invited him to collaborate, asked for client introductions. He believed he had built a massive network of loyal friends. But then came 2020, the market crashed, he lost nearly everything. And his phone completely silent. Not a single call, not a single check-in. 6 months later, as he started rebuilding, signing a few small contracts, his phone lit up again. The same people who disappeared were now resurfacing, messages full of friendly energy. Hey, it's been a while. Want to grab coffee? He wasn't angry, but he had changed. He didn't reply immediately. He sorted through his contacts, and he kept only those who reached out when he was at rock bottom. Just them, the ones who came for him, not for what he had. His circle grew smaller, but it became unshakable. That story taught me something. Absence can be its own form of honesty. When you have nothing left to offer, those who vanish are answering a question you were afraid to ask. They were never showing up for you. They were showing up for the shiny version of you. And you deserve relationships that go beyond the glow. So the next time someone knocks when you're shining, don't rush to let them in. You don't have to slam the door. You just don't have to open it. Because real light, true strength, doesn't need validation. It shines quietly, steadily from within. Sign number 4, they compete with your pain. Some people won't comfort you when you're hurting. They'll compete to prove they've suffered more. Imagine this. One evening, you meet a close friend. After a long silence, you finally open up. Lately, I've been struggling to breathe every morning. Maybe it's because my mom was just admitted to the hospital. I don't know how to handle it. You haven't even finished exhaling when the person across from you jumps in. Oh man, I had it worse a few years ago. My mom was in and out of hospitals constantly. I had to handle everything by myself. Your story gets swallowed whole. The feelings you just opened up about shut down, and now you sit alone with the pain you never even got to finish speaking. What do most of us do in that moment? We give a faint smile. We say, wow, you're really strong. We try to show empathy, even though we were the ones who needed it. But after that moment, something changes. You pull back. You speak less. You start to feel that this space isn't safe. And deep inside, a question begins to form. Are there people who always turn someone else's pain into a stage for their own story? Stoic philosophy reminds us, The wise don't rush into the space of sorrow. They understand that silent presence often carries more power than 1,000 well-meaning words. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." When someone is hurting, a good person doesn't seize the spotlight. They hold the silence. They don't need to one-up someone else's suffering to prove their own history. Instead, they simply ask with quiet respect, "What can I do for you right now?" That kind of stillness, that kind of timing, is a medicine no one asks for, but everyone needs. I once saw this unfold at a small cafe in Dallas. An older man shared with quiet heaviness that he had just lost his son in an accident. No one spoke, everyone sat still, until one younger man, brimming with misplaced confidence, suddenly broke the silence. "I know exactly how that feels. I lost both my parents within 2 years. Nothing hurts more than that." Some nodded politely, unsure how else to respond, but the older man just smiled sadly, then excused himself and walked out. He didn't need to hear whose pain was worse. He just needed space to sit inside his own sorrow without having it stolen. That moment taught me something. Competing over pain never leads to healing. The wise don't compare grief. They show up. They know when to speak and when to stay silent. And it's that kind of sensitivity that defines real friendship. So if someone always turns your sadness into a launch pad for their own story, be careful. They're not showing up to lift you. They're looking for a new stage, and your heart is not a rehearsal space for someone else's monologue. Pain is not a contest. Everyone needs a space to unravel, to be heard without being measured. And if someone cannot sit beside you in your most fragile moments, not to rescue you, but simply to stay in silence and hold your hand, then maybe they were never truly there at all. Sign number 5, they pretend to support you, but quietly resent your growth. Some people will never block your path. They just silently hope you don't walk too far ahead. Imagine this. You've just been promoted. It's the result of years of dedication. You call a close friend to share the good news. They respond, "Oh, nice. But that must come with a lot of pressure, huh?" You laugh it off. A few days later, during a group hangout, you mention a few details about your new role. They smile, but their eyes are a little colder. They pat your shoulder, but the gesture feels hollow. And when others celebrate your win, they quietly look the other way. You begin to feel it. A congratulations that doesn't ring true. A joy with a bitter edge. Our instinct is usually to brush it off. We tell ourselves, maybe I'm just being sensitive, or they're probably just tired. But soon you notice a pattern. They were only truly supportive when you were on the same level. Now that you're rising, the energy between you shifts. The conversations lose their ease. The encouragement fades. In its place, passive remarks, offhand comments, and smiles that arrive a second too late. So how do you recognize this kind of person? Those who don't stop your climb, but secretly hope you slip. Stoic philosophy teaches us, you don't judge character by words, but by energy. Envy isn't always spoken aloud, but it is always felt. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." That means choosing friends not just for who they were in the past, but for who they allow you to become in the future. A true supporter is not threatened by your growth. They don't shrink when you expand. But the one who only pretends to support you, they'll feel your success as an attack on their own stagnation. I once knew a colleague who started from the bottom, just like I did. We used to split side gigs, share late dinners when our paychecks barely covered rent. But then I got promoted first. At first, he smiled. He said all the right things. But within weeks, I started to notice subtle changes. "You've changed a lot lately," he said. Or, "Be careful. Higher up means harder falls." Then one day I heard from someone else that he'd been saying I was just lucky. Not talented, I wasn't angry, I was sad, because I realized not everyone who walks with you can handle your light when it grows brighter. That moment made me more awake. I didn't cut him off completely, but I adjusted the distance. I stopped oversharing. I saved my deeper wins for those who could genuinely celebrate them. And I learned something. The loneliness of moving forward often doesn't come from being left behind. It comes from having to leave behind those who resent your rise. So if someone always seems to go quiet when you level up, pay attention to that feeling. Pretending can't hide the truth for long, and your light doesn't need permission to shine. You don't owe anyone an apology for growing. You just need to keep walking, surrounded by those who can watch you rise without feeling small beside you. Because a true friend isn't just the one who stays through your losses. They're the one who can raise their head, look you in the eye and say, "Well done," without jealousy in their chest. Sign number 6, they imitate you but are never honest with you. Some people don't build relationships through sincerity. They build them through imitation. Imagine meeting someone new. After just a few conversations, they seem to understand you almost too well. They like the same music you do. They quote the same books. They use phrases you often say, even the personal ones, the ones you thought were uniquely yours. At first, it feels flattering. You feel seen, understood, but as time passes, something starts to feel off. When you express a new opinion, they adjust immediately. When you disagree, they fall silent, only to return later with full agreement. The closer you get, the more it feels like you're looking at a reflection of yourself through them. Your initial reaction might be, maybe we just have a lot in common, or we must really be on the same wavelength. But if you've ever felt like you're talking to a mirror version of yourself, there's a chance you're not being truly seen. You're being studied, watched, analyzed, then mirrored. Just enough to make you trust them. This isn't connection, it's calibration. And the Stoics would call this what it truly is, a loss of identity. It's when a person stops living through their own reason and begins adapting themselves as a strategy to fit someone else's expectations. Epictetus once said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of them." In this case, the disturbance isn't coming from the other person. It's coming from your misunderstanding of what's happening. You believe you're being understood, but in truth, you're being manipulated through artificial familiarity. People who mimic you aren't doing it to know you. They're doing it to lower your defenses. They're not revealing themselves. They're collecting data. I once met someone during a personal development retreat. She was kind, soft-spoken, deeply attentive. I remember thinking, I'm lucky to have met someone so in sync. But over time, I started hearing my own words, verbatim, coming from her mouth in conversations with others. Phrases I thought were shared in private were now being used in group settings with different people. It felt rehearsed, and then, the moment I pushed back, when I finally disagreed with one of her ideas, she disappeared. No text, no explanation, just silence. That's when it became clear. Real connection doesn't fear difference. Only imitation needs perfect agreement. A genuine person remains who they are, even when you disagree. A false one will shapeshift with your reactions until you no longer know what's real. So, if someone always mirrors you a little too perfectly, slow down. Watch what happens when you express disapproval. Watch what happens when you set a boundary. If their kindness suddenly turns to silence, or worse, blame, then you may have just touched their true edge. Inauthenticity. A real friend doesn't need to look like you to stand beside you. They just need to be themselves, and that is more than enough. Sign number 7, they disappear when you need genuine presence. Some people don't leave because they hate you. They leave because you became too real, too deep, too human. Imagine one night you're sitting alone in a dark room. No goodnight text, No call asking how you're doing. Recently, you've gone through a loss. Maybe it's a loved one, a relationship, or simply the exhaustion that's been building for too long. You're not looking for someone to fix it. You're not asking for solutions. You just wish for presence, someone quiet enough not to break the silence, close enough so you don't feel entirely alone. But slowly you realize, those who used to be there when you were joyful, those who texted you endlessly during your highs, have vanished. The common reaction is to turn inward. You start blaming yourself. Maybe I was too much. Everyone's probably just busy. But deep down you know better. This isn't forgetfulness. This is avoidance. They're not gone because they didn't see your pain. They're gone because they couldn't bear it. They're not used to this version of you. The unfiltered you. The one who's tired, who's hurting, who doesn't have it all together. They don't know how to face the truth that you too are human, that you need to be held, to be asked about, to be heard. Stoic philosophy teaches us this. When things fall apart, that's when you truly see who stands with you. Real ones don't only show up when you smile. They stay when you're too broken to speak. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Dig deep within yourself, for there is a fountain of strength always ready to rise." That strength isn't found in crowds. It surfaces when there's no one around. And sometimes the disappearance of others is the universe's way of reminding you. You don't need everyone. You just need the real ones. And sometimes, not even that. Sometimes you just need you. I once received a message from someone I'd considered a close friend. We used to share everything. Work stress, family drama, future dreams, our little failures. But then I went through a major collapse, a breakup, a mental spiral. I grew silent. I stopped sharing. I didn't have the energy to be cheerful, and she went silent too. No message, no check-in. Weeks passed. I finally sent a simple message. "I feel really awful." She saw it and said nothing. I wasn't angry, but I understood. Not everyone is built to sit beside someone's pain without trying to fix it. Some walk away not because they hate you, but because your pain reflects their own fragility, and they can't handle that. That experience taught me something. The ones who disappear when you're at your weakest aren't meant to be held on to. They're not bad people. They're just not your people. You don't need to blame them. Just remember, so that when the light returns, you don't forget the days when it went dark. And you don't waste your glow on those who only show up when the stage lights are on. So if someone steps away the moment you need something real, don't chase them. Their absence is a gift. It gives you space. It returns your clarity. And most importantly, it gives you the chance to choose again. This time, people deep enough not to be afraid of the cracks in you. Because those who only love you when you're happy, they never really loved you. They only loved the role you used to play. Now you see it, don't you? Fakeness doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It doesn't stab you, it steps back when you need a hand. It doesn't lie, it just isn't real. And what makes it dangerous is this. You once believed they stayed because they cared, but they stayed because it was convenient. When you needed truth, they gave you silence. When you needed presence, they gave you distance. And when you were in pain, they competed to see who had it worse. But you know what? Seeing that clearly isn't disappointment. It's the beginning of maturity. It's the moment you begin to live with clarity. It's when you stop choosing people based on history and start choosing based on your present and your future. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Goodness is a light that cannot go out. It shines even in the wind. And you are that light. You don't need a crowd to shine." So if this video stirred something in you, something painfully familiar, don't stay silent. Leave a comment. I choose real, even if only a few remain. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Because from now on, you're not chasing crowds. You're walking toward truth. And that path, though few walk it, has never led anyone astray.